These 10 rifles are tied to factory closures, military contracts, and discontinued production. The window to grab one cheap is closing. But if you already own one of these, don't sell. By the end of the video, you will know exactly why. You've probably walked past one of these at a gun show without blinking. That's about to change. The Marlin 1895 looks like just another lever gun, but the story behind it is anything but ordinary. When Remington went through bankruptcy restructuring, Marlin's production got disrupted along with it. Quality control suffered. Output slowed. Then ownership changed hands entirely when Ruger took over the brand. Here's what most people miss. Pre-Ruger Marlins, the ones made before the transition, are a completely different animal from a collecting standpoint. Pre-Ruger models had tighter tolerances and a better wood-to-metal fit. Fewer of them exist in pristine condition because nobody was babying a so-called just another lever gun back then. Now collectors are sorting through old racks specifically hunting for that pre-transition stamp. A clean pre-Ruger 1895 in 4570 with original bluing is becoming harder to find every month. Hunters love this rifle for big, dangerous game. Collectors are starting to love it for a different reason entirely. Scarcity created by a corporate restructuring nobody saw coming. But the next rifle on this list did not lose value from a bankruptcy. It gained value from a single year stamped on the receiver. That single year, 1964, splits this rifle's entire value in two. The Winchester Model 70 earned the nickname the Rifleman's Rifle for a reason. Before 1964, every Model 70 used a controlled round feed action. That means the bolt grips the cartridge from the moment it leaves the magazine until it is chambered. No feeding failures, no jams at the worst possible moment. Then Winchester switched manufacturing methods in 1964 to cut costs. Push feed action replaced controlled round feed. Stamped parts replaced machined ones. Collectors noticed immediately. The pre-1964 guns became a separate category overnight, almost like Winchester had built two different rifles under one name. Hunters who used these in the field already knew the difference. The bolt just worked every single time in conditions that made other rifles choke. Original pre-1964 examples in rare chamberings like .220 Swift or 7mm Mauser are the ones bringing serious premiums today. But chambering alone does not make a rifle valuable. Sometimes it is the Army that carried it into combat that does. An Army carried this rifle through the worst war in modern history. That's not marketing, that's documented fact. The Mauser K98K was the standard German infantry rifle of World War II. Millions were produced. But here's what collectors actually chase: matching serial numbers. Every major component on a K98K was stamped with a serial number at the factory. Bolt, receiver, stock, magazine. If those numbers all match, the rifle has never had parts swapped or replaced. That's increasingly rare after 80 years of war, storage, and import handling. Add original Nazi proof marks, and you're looking at a rifle that tells an unaltered story from the day it left the factory. Most K98Ks that hit the surplus market decades ago had parts mixed during arsenal refurbishment. Finding one that's fully matching is like finding a sealed time capsule. Condition grading matters enormously here. A rifle with 80% original finish is worth multiples of one that has been re-blued or sporterized. Re-blued examples lose most of their premium instantly. Sporterized ones lose almost all of it. But provenance through war doesn't always mean a rifle saw combat. Sometimes it means the rifle almost got left behind by history entirely. This is the rifle history almost forgot. Not the military Browning automatic rifle, the sporting semi-auto that shares its name and not much else. John Browning designed the original action. Decades of hunters trusted it in the field for accuracy and smooth cycling. Then the market moved on. Lighter polymer semi-autos took over. Modern optics-ready platforms pushed the bar into the background. Here's the part most people don't know. Overlooked rifles with strong original engineering often go through a quiet rediscovery phase before prices move. It happened with the FN FAL. It's starting to happen with the BR. Early production models with milled steel parts, before manufacturing shifted to cut costs, are the ones drawing renewed attention. Hunters who actually used these in the field will tell you the recoil management and reliability were ahead of their time. Collectors are catching up to what those hunters already knew. Right now, clean early BRs are still underpriced relative to their engineering pedigree. That gap won't last. But if you think being overlooked is rare, wait until you hear what happened to the rifle at number 6. If you're still watching at this point, you already know more than most people who clicked away 10 rifles ago. That's not flattery. That's a fact about how this list works. The FN FAL earned the nickname the right arm of the free world for a reason. It armed NATO-aligned militaries across dozens of countries during the Cold War. Battle-tested, combat-proven, built to function in mud, sand, and jungle heat without failing. Here's what's strange. Despite that pedigree, the FAL trades for less than rifles with a fraction of its combat history. Why? Weight and bulk pushed it out of fashion next to lighter modern semi-autos. But the same retro military interest that's lifting the BR is starting to lift the FAL too. Original metric pattern imports, the ones with correct furniture and import-marked receivers, are the specific variant collectors are circling. Inch pattern FALs and parts kit builds don't carry the same weight. Verify the import marks before you buy. That single detail separates a real collector's piece from a parts gun wearing a costume. The FAL proved itself in combat across multiple continents. Now it's proving something else. Military reputation eventually catches up to market price. But factory shutdowns move faster than reputation ever does. A factory shutdown just doubled this rifle's price in under a decade. The Remington Model 700 was, for generations, the default bolt-action rifle in America. Hunters bought them by the millions. Then Remington's manufacturing operations were halted roughly a decade ago during the company's restructuring. Production didn't just slow down, it stopped. Here's the number that matters. Before that stoppage, a pristine 700 in a traditional chambering sold for under $800 without much effort. Now, depending on the chambering, those same rifles have more than doubled in value. Verify exact current pricing before quoting it, because the market is still moving. Certain chamberings are pulling premiums well above the average. 257 Roberts, 6.5 by 55 Swedish, 222 Remington Magnum. Standard chamberings in common calibers haven't seen the same jump because ammunition is still abundant and the rifles aren't scarce yet. That's the detail most sellers miss when they price one. Not every 700 is equal. The chambering on the barrel determines whether you're holding a $900 rifle or a $2,000 rifle, but scarcity from a shutdown is one thing. Scarcity from a numbers game stamped at the factory is something else entirely. Some rifles get rare because a company closes its doors. This one got rare because of how it was built in the first place. The Savage Model 99 used a rotary magazine, a design that let it function more like a bolt action in terms of cartridge handling while still operating as a lever gun. That hybrid engineering made it genuinely unique among lever actions of its era. Production ran for decades, but total output across the model's entire run was limited compared to mass-market lever guns like the Winchester 94. Fewer rifles made means fewer rifles surviving in collectible condition today. Here's what's happening right now in the market. Collectors who grew up respecting the craftsmanship of this era are actively rediscovering the 99, specifically because it does not show up in every gun shop the way more common lever guns do. Rare configurations, takedown models, and rifles in less common chamberings like 250 Savage are the ones moving fastest. If the receiver shows the rotary magazine cutout and the action still cycles smoothly, you're holding something genuinely scarcer than most lever guns from the same decades. The supply was always limited. The demand is just now catching up to that fact. But limited supply from production numbers is nothing compared to what happens when a rifle becomes a literal attic discovery. Sometimes the rarest rifle in the world has been sitting in someone's attic the entire time. The Winchester 1886 is a pre-World War II lever action designed by John Browning, built for cartridges too powerful for earlier Winchester actions. It's a genuine piece of the company's transition into more serious, heavier-hitting lever guns. Here's a story that shows exactly why this rifle commands the attention it does. A specific 1886, now known among collectors as the Marshfield Find, surfaced after sitting untouched for almost 140 years. Collectors didn't just take notice, they competed hard for the chance to be its first new owner since the rifle left the factory. That's the kind of provenance auction houses build entire campaigns around. Most Winchester 1886 rifles won't have a story that dramatic, but the model itself carries enough scarcity on its own. Early production examples, especially in larger original calibers such as 4570 or 5110, are increasingly difficult to source in unmodified condition. Octagon barrels, case-colored receivers, and original sights all add separate layers of value on top of the base rifle. This is a model where condition and originality matter more than almost anything else on this list. A refinished 1886 loses much of what makes it special. An untouched one tells a story money usually can't buy. But nothing tells a deeper story than a rifle made in a run of exactly 1,000. A production run of exactly 1,000 rifles is about as rare as this hobby gets. Winchester created the 1 of 1,000 designation as a marketing grade, reserved for rifles that tested with exceptional accuracy on the factory range. Out of the entire production run of the model 1876, only a small fraction ever qualified for that designation. Each one received special engraving and finish work to mark it as something above standard production. Here's what makes this even rarer today. Because the qualifying criteria were strict and the testing process was manual, the actual surviving population of genuine 1 of 1,000 rifles is a tiny fraction of total Model 1876 production. Fakes and misattributed rifles exist in the market, which means documentation and factory letters matter enormously here. A verified example with matching factory records isn't just a rifle. It's a piece of Winchester's own internal grading system from over a century ago, something the company itself decided was worth singling out. Inscribed and presentation examples push value even further, especially when tied to a documented original owner. This isn't a rifle you stumble into casually. This is a rifle you spend years building the knowledge to identify correctly. But knowledge and rarity together only get you to number 2. Number 1 earned its spot from something no marketing department could manufacture. General Patton called this rifle the greatest battle implement ever devised. That's not a collector's exaggeration. That's a direct quote from the man who led armies across Europe with it in his soldiers' hands. The M1 Garand armed the United States military through World War II and Korea. Semi-automatic, unblock, clip-fed, rugged enough to survive conditions that destroyed lesser rifles. Here's what most people don't know about owning one legally today. The Civilian Marksmanship Program, CMP, sources verified surplus Garands and sells them directly to eligible civilian buyers. That's a documented, traceable path to ownership most historic military rifles simply don't have. No gray market guessing. No questionable import history. Just a direct line back to genuine U.S. military production. Originality is everything with these rifles. Matching serial numbers between the receiver and major components, correct manufacturer stampings from Springfield Armory or Winchester, and original wood furniture without modern refinishing. Rifles with documented unit history or battlefield pickup stories command the highest premiums of all when that history can actually be verified. This is the rifle every serious collector already owns or is actively hunting for. Not because it's flashy, because it's the most historically validated semi-automatic rifle most civilians will ever legally hold. 10 riffles, one thread connecting every single one. History always pays the patient collector. Scarcity, history, and provenance always outlast hype. If you already own one of these, you're not just a gun owner. You're holding a piece of history that's about to get a lot more expensive. Drop the number you own in the comments. I read every single one.